Hello everybody, I hope everyone is doing alright. This is being recorded Sunday, the 28th of December, this video. I suppose it's better for me to start saying this so that perhaps my videos may come after an event or something like that, so it's better to just say the date so people understand where I come from. Now, as you can see from the title of the video, this one I don't think it will be a long one, but today I'm talking about the fundamental difference of approach between Europe, and in this case I'll be referring directly to the EU. I'm not going to be referring to the UK because they have a completely different approach to it, so it's better to not mix the waters. I might talk about the UK's approach, but for now we are going to talk about the EU. I'm going to talk about the fundamental difference of way the EU, to an extent Canada also, it has a similar point of view, and the US, the way they view China, and the position from which they view China. The only thing that all parts have in relation to China is that there is a position of caution, meaning all parties approach any negotiations with China with extreme care, because you don't want to disrupt world economy. We all understand the economic and military might of China. So what we want is to have what we call around here rotten peace. Okay, paz podre. What does this expression mean? It means to have a relationship of peace that is needed. Okay, perhaps not wished for by both parties, but that both parties understand that it's more expensive, it's more troublesome, it's more destabilizing to have an open conflict than to have a peace where you don't get exactly what you want and the other part doesn't get exactly what it wants. And to anyone that doesn't understand this, I will tell you this. This is what we call diplomatic relationship. To use diplomatic relationship to more or less balance the sides of the plates of the balance, okay, and keep things more or less in equilibrium, so that we don't have open conflicts and open issues that will only cause damage to both parties, okay? And China fundamentally wants to negotiate. They want to do business. They are aggressive doing business, yes they are. And they, for example, give loans to several countries, and then when those countries forfeit on the loans, they take advantage of that to take over economic areas of the country and influence them politically. Yes, that's true, but their influence is more in the sense of condoning their behavior, okay, forgetting that China is not a democratic state, and forget about all of that. But the key issue here too is, from my perspective, from a European perspective, I also don't know what right do I have to tell them that their political system is wrong. Because in my opinion, it's the Chinese people themselves that have to decide that their political system is wrong. It's not me. And this is also the mainstream position here in Portugal. I can tell you this, okay? I can tell you what most politicians say is You have the demagogues that sometimes go screaming the yellow panic and all of that shit. But most politicians, they deal with China as Portugal has dealt with China over the centuries. And we are basically the European country that has had constant diplomatic relationships with China all of these centuries. Okay, we did not stole Macau. Okay, Macau was given to us. They told us, here you have a port so that you can trade with us. Okay, we did not forcibly take it like the British, and also we did not need it to be threatened like the British to give it back. We gave it back. Okay, there are plenty of concessions. If you want to understand how Macau works, okay, go and inform yourselves about it. I'm not going to make a dedicated video about this, but the key issue here is that if tomorrow I wanted to relocate to Macau and I had my life over there, okay, basically it would not be hard for me as a Portuguese citizen to be able to live in Macau. This is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? And all of the cultural aspects of Portuguese presence in Macau, they are ensured, okay? There are libraries, there are museums, there are monuments that are preserved, there are cultural interactions between Portugal and China to preserve that culture that is very specific, okay? I have friends in Macau. I have people that I know in Macau. My martial arts teacher, his mother was Chinese, Portuguese, okay? She was from Macau, okay? He was also half Chinese, of course, and in this case, Cantonese. So there is really not that friction, okay? This is just for that you understand, for example, my perspective. You also have perspectives from other countries, okay? It's a danger technologically, it's a danger militarily, it's a danger because they copy a lot of things, but then again, Japan did the same thing. Okay, and before Japan, America did it to Europe, then Japan did it to America, now China is doing it to the other big dogs. So, look, this is a process that is inevitable. What I'm trying to tell you is this: the only way to deal with change is to adapt. If you try to maintain some kind of epic past in which you were very powerful and you did this and you did that, you will fall, and it will be quicker and it will be harder on you because you are not able to accept things as they are and ride the wave, because things change. Tomorrow China might not be the power, another one will rise, and successively, okay? This is normal, this is natural, and we should not have all of this emotional maelstrom inside of our head when we are trying to deal with very concrete, how you say it, very logic things, okay? And this is the fundamental difference between the EU and the United States, is that the United States, number one, they consider themselves superior. Number two, they consider themselves to be under a constant attack. And number three, they do not accept that they have already lost a conflict that they themselves, with President Trump, have accelerated. What I'm trying to tell you is simply this: the United States has already lost. Like I already told you in a couple of videos, when I talked about, for example, the usage of green energies, the growth of green technologies, the growth of things like accessible cities, like all of that, I told you that Europe is probably a decade or much more, right now, much more ahead of the United States, and that China is probably 40 years ahead of the United States. And the question here is, this is not a war. The United States could have perfectly maintained a status quo position if they had been pragmatic and if they had negotiated. Now, look at what happened to the farmers. I mean, how are you going to threaten an economy that has the capability of sourcing what it needs from anywhere in the world, basically, and that also has behind it a totalitarian regime that is not democratic, that can take decisions that are hard on the people, on their own citizens, but that can take those decisions without losing. And you understand, without losing money. If the state loses money, then it loses money. But if the purpose of losing that money is achieved, they could care less. And then you have the United States that depends on a fluctuating market, that depends on a steady stream of imports and of exportations, of complex relationships with European countries, with other countries in the world, with Japan, with Korea, okay, with Taiwan, with all of that. You have all of that, and then you go against, in that way, you go against China with 240% tariffs and other crap. And China simply stops buying your soy, starts buying all of your goods, starts slowing down what it sells to you, including the rare earths. It stops all of that, and your economy is fucked. Now, if you were a decent world power that wanted to keep itself on top, what would you do? You would negotiate with China, you would reinforce the economic ties and political ties with your allies, you would assume a position of strength, for example, in Europe against Russia. You would do all of that. But no. What you have in the White House is an ally of China and Russia. Because who is benefiting from this? I also told you in other videos that my dad always used to tell me that see where the money drops. It should be very simple. You know, who really benefits from what is happening? If you see who is benefiting from what happens, then you will understand who provoked the action. And people always tell me, oh, it's not that simple, this is very complex and that. No, it's very complex if you look at things with emotions. If you look at things with logic, if you do that little exercise that I told you, a blank sheet of paper, you divide it at half, and you put the opposite positions in that list, each in its column, and then you see what matches. It's just a matter of seeing it, okay? And what we look, I tell you what I have always told everyone, my friends, my family, other YouTubers, you guys and girls that like to listen to me. I'll tell you this: whatever happens in the war in Ukraine, it won't change the future events. Okay? It will only turn them into a more obvious thing. Okay? Putin wants to save face in Ukraine. If he has the capability of creating new focus of war. He has. He's mad enough, he's stupid enough. But to achieve his objectives, no. Even his satellite state, Belarus, is fading. Okay? He has been trying to integrate Belarus for decades. And even there, that grip is faltering. And what does if you corner a predator, what does the predator do? The predator strikes back. He tries to bite you. He tries to make as much damage as he can on you, even though the predator knows that it's cornered and that the hunters with the spears, they are going to pierce him one way or another. This is exactly what we have. Or if you prefer a chess expression, he's in Sukswat. Okay? He cannot either win he cannot win and he cannot lose. Simple as this. And whatever happens, it will happen, okay? Whatever concessions Ukraine might be forced to do now, that does not mean it will recognize the fact. And this means that in the future, or even right now, if Putin does some shit in a NATO state that is considered too much, he's going to get a response. And it's going to be quick. And the nuclear deterrent is no longer sufficient for that. Because Putin also knows this. If he uses his nuclear weapons, he's going to have China on his back. China wants the northern Manchuria. And China is going to get it, okay? Either by economic control that will lead to political leverage, or by full-blown invasion. I have no doubts about it, okay? It's a natural consequence, because you see, Russia is in a demographic collapse. It's worse than Europe. We around here, we have lower demographics because of structural issues. But these structural issues tomorrow, they may be fixed, and in a decade we recuperate. People have to be pragmatic about this, okay? Reduce the price of housing, increase the salaries, okay? Do all of that, take in some immigration to cover the faults, and in a decade, and then in 100 years, it's back to normal. Okay, if Europe if Europe recovered after the Black Plague that statistically apparently killed off 40% of the European population, and these are the more controlled numbers because it varies from areas to areas. Okay, Portugal, for example, because we were a bit more isolated, we fended off a lot of the Black Death. Okay, and we also have a different system. We had a different system of territorial organization. Okay, same here happened around here next door to Spain. Okay, it was a bit different. Okay, but subject for another video. Okay, but what I'm trying to tell you is this: Europe will do what we have already done, that we are continuously doing. We will negotiate with China. We will make concessions to China. Yes, we will. Everyone will. Concessions for a purpose. Europe and China negotiated with the Central Asian countries to build a railroad directly from China to Europe, and vice versa, of course, from Europe to China, for economical trading. This means then in a couple of this isn't going to take a decade or something like that. This will take around 2 years probably. Okay, you are going to have cargo transportation between China and Europe that will take around less than 40 days. And these are the austere predictions, because when it's completely completely functioning, it will be half of that time. Continuous flow of goods, and completely bypassing Russia. It's like you are economically erasing Russia in the future. And I know a lot of people will say, "Oh, they'll never do it, and this and that, and blah 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 blah." Okay, you keep on talking. You keep on talking, but I always say this: economics knows no morals. Economics and politics, okay, they just know one thing: survive, thrive, prosper. That's all what people want. And this is what is going to happen, okay? This will happen, okay? And look, all of that time that the Americans right now are losing, not seeing the change happening, it's a time wasted. The fall will cost you even more. Look at the UK. Brexit was going to be that wonderful event that would make everything alright. It didn't. And right now, I can see the comments already. The EU is punishing us. France and Germany are also very bad, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. Okay. How many factories have been built in the United Kingdom? Is your life conditions better? Is your rail system better? Do you have a high speed rail system between London and Scotland, for example? Do you have all of that? Okay, is Wales more wealthy and more prosperous now that they don't no longer have the clutches of the EU giving them subsidies from the from the global pot? And what about the Turing system to replace Erasmus and to be much better than Erasmus? How is that doing? The UK is already in Erasmus again, 2020. I don't think it's in 2026. It will be in 2027, I believe. And this will happen with everything, because the EU is going to cautiously allow the UK to enter in systems as long as the EU controls it, because we cannot allow the UK to have a say in almost anything. And I'm not saying this is fair, okay, and I'm not saying that I like it, but it has to be this way, because you have Farage, you have a lot of Russians paid spies in your country, and while we around here we persecute them, like the AfD guys in Germany that are now being under scrutiny, and the party itself might be illegalized. While that is happening, you have one in I think it's the Lord of Siberia, but I'm sure he's a completely a clean and pure British citizen, loyal to his king. I'm sure of that. Okay? And the Pope is not Catholic. God's sake. Sometimes I really don't understand how dumb people can be, or better yet, how people can convince themselves of lies. Okay? How people can convince themselves of lies in such a way that their reaction to anything that goes against their little narrative is to spew out the most incredible bullshit that I ever heard in my life. I had absolutely no idea of how many dumb people and how many bots are around in YouTube. It's unbelievable. But That's a subject for another video. I decided forefront that this video would not be more than 30 minutes. We are getting close, so I'm going to just conclude by saying this. The rest of the world is going down a completely different path. From his behavior in the last weeks, Trump has burned all bridges. He's going to try to take the laurels for whatever agreement is done in Ukraine. He's going to try to do the things that he does, and as this progresses, because the American opposition, they talk a lot but they do nothing. Okay, look, just for us to understand each other. All the Americans say, "Oh, you have my support. Oh, yes, you are right." When people inside of their country are questioning and talking about the Führer and his business and all of that, okay, oh, you have my support, but you have nothing. You don't have a general strike. And I'm not talking about violence, okay? I'm against violence. I am against violence because it simply does not bloody work. It only replaces one problem for another, and it creates resentment and issues that you are going to have to deal with in the future. So if you take a violent action, you better be conscious of the future consequences of those actions. But channel strike, okay, not buying any shit. Stop purchasing American goods, for example, from the companies that are supporting Mr. Trump. But what do you have? You have a day of protests of people in frog suits. You have a couple of more separated events, but you don't have, for example, all of those Democrats that are talking a lot in the Congress, and no, we are going to take over Congress and we are going to change everything. Okay, what is the worth of you taking over Congress if the president continues to do whatever the fuck he wants to do? He's still there. He's still sending. He bombed Nigeria. Where is your Congress now? He's continuing to steal and commit acts of piracy against boats that he says they are Venezuelan boats. I don't know what the hell they are. He continues to kill people in boats. His little immigration secret police, not so secret, but it's secret because they are cowards and cover their faces. They continue to abduct people. People continue to disappear. As an example, I saw a news, a guy talking about this, that his father was taken in by ICE. No one knows where the fuck he is. And the ICE agents were driving his vehicle, his pickup truck, okay? They put a little sign of ICE and it's ours. Do you understand what is happening, or do I have to draw you a little picture? Do you understand what happens when you give power to people of this caliber? No, you don't. But again, like I said, I promised myself this would be under 30 minutes, almost 30 minutes up. So I'm going to end this by saying you this. I think you are going to hear a lot of news about this, and then you are going to listen to a lot of American politicians saying Europe and Canada and whatever, they are aligning with China against the United States. And whenever they tell you this, you just tell them to fuck off, because that is not what's happening. What is happening is that you have a dying superpower screaming and talking shit and not taking any kind of decision, and the rest of the world ignoring him. Ignoring him or saying, okay, all right, yes, yes, right, right. Oh, we are going to invest in your country. Yes, we are. We are going to invest in your country. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. And then token investment or non-investment. Oh, I'm sorry, but we can't really now invest in your country because we are having our own issues. Okay, and then I hear them. Oh, now you're going to buy all of our goods and this and that. My friends, I go shopping, okay, every day, most of the days, because you see, I live in a civilized country where I can even walk to go do my shopping. Okay, I don't need to drive to go do my shopping. Most of the times I do because I like to buy whatever I need every week, so I don't go that often to do my shopping. But whatever. And maybe I'm lazy because I don't want to walk my with my shopping cart. So I just whatever I either I go in my bicycle, something like that, or I just take my car, or I walk. But I walk a lot of time. A lot of times I walk because I like to walk. It's very good for you. Now let's end this. All 2 minutes over over 30 minutes. Man, when I start to rant, I don't stop. Thank you all for listening to this quick one. I hope it has given you something to think about. And, well, we'll be seeing each other. I will probably upload some more stuff before the new year. Because honestly, I really don't care much about the new year. I never did. But if you like it, I hope you enjoy it. But we'll probably see each other before the new year. Now, thank you very much for listening to me. Please stay safe, and I hope to catch you all in the next one.